Hi everyone! So I've had a few requests over the last month or so to do some more inventory related videos, some ranking videos, and I thought that I would start big and start with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes. So as always, let me know if there are other videos you would like to see, if there's any specific inventories or sort of collections you'd like to see me talk about. Just let me know. I'm going to be doing a couple of declutters soon. I just need to get around to it, and I've been kind of lazy with painting my nails. So anyway, I want to start off with the newest addition to my Natasha Denona eyeshadow family, and one that I've only used twice, so I'm not ranking it. I will revisit this at some point in the future and do another ranking, but I wanted to do this before, and then I was surprised and gifted this palette. So if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you probably heard me talk about how much I wanted the Biba palette, and I was gifted the Biba palette, and my heart is full. I don't even know what to say. I've used it twice and it's amazing. I had to repress the black shade there because I dropped it in my sink, as I do. But this is just, it's not the bottom of the list, but it doesn't have a place on the list right now. So this is what the Biba palette looks like. It is a beautiful palette. I've used only a handful of the shades so far. I'm continuously drawn to the shade Monroe. There's not a lot of like shimmery shades in this palette, and this is a neutral palette. Like it says right on it that it's neutral, and these are the three sort of shimmery shades that are in the palette, and they are unreal. But Monroe, the top one, is the one I keep going to, and I can't wait to play with this more. I want to do like a full get ready with me, and I want to go and dig out all of those like Natasha sort of tutorials and dig through it, but you know, this is a neutral palette, so this needs some more love. Okay, so I'm gonna go through my list starting from my least favorite, then going to my absolute favorite. So I have a holiday palette from a few years ago. This is the Aeris palette. This is what she used to do before she started doing the minis with like the smaller pan sizes. This is at the bottom of my list because the formula has been changed since, and I find like some of these shadows are just a little like gritty and glittery, and they don't have the same sort of Natasha Denona effect as some of the other ones. Now this blue shade though, this blue shade is just, there's nothing like it. Like, you know, I have no eyeshadow primer on, I have nothing, like my fingers aren't wet or anything. This is just a swatch of that blue shadow on my hand, so it's beautiful, and I really like that shadow, but it's not enough to save like the entire palette for me, and I just don't reach for it. Now, I have been rearranging my palettes as well. They are very easy to do so. I have this little inglot magnet from when I had purchased a little set of inglot shadows, so you can just pop out the shadows incredibly easily. So like this is a magnet, and it just, you know, there's that shadow popped out now, and I can rearrange it. And I did attempt to rearrange all of my palettes before I did this video. I can't guarantee that they're all the same shadows though, because they aren't labeled or anything on the back like some single shadows might be. So it was some of the shadows, when you're looking at them all taken out of the packaging, are very similar. But I find that's true for most of like the brown matte shades, and really how versatile is a brown matte going to be, and there's like one or two in every palette. The next least favorite palette is the Lila palette. I'm so sorry. I know people love this palette. This is just not a palette that I use much. So you can see, like, okay, all of my palettes are dirty because they're well used and I'm constantly rearranging them. But this is the one I don't have any pan on. Like, I don't use any of the shadows very often. There are some beautiful shades in here. I tend to reach for like the duochrome shades in Natasha palettes more than anything else. And like Dragon Bite, I feel like when I move it into another palette is one that I'll end up using more. I just forget about it. It's pretty, and I really love purples and I love pinks, but it's just not the combination of shadows that I tend to reach for. And then I will look at it and I won't really be inspired as opposed to some of the other palettes that inspire me, despite really loving the color combination. I think this is a very wearable, colorful palette. There's, you know, the purples and the pinks, but there's a lot of shades in here that I feel like are really good neutrals. Like I'm just swatching all the shimmer shades because those are the things that appeal to me the most. But you know, like the mattes are really good as well. They're just, you know, they're just basic shades though, so it doesn't excite me as much to use this one. Of all of my Natasha palettes that I've purchased myself, this is one that I think I regret the most, just because I feel like it doesn't really add anything and I don't reach for it enough. But moving right along, the next palette is the Tropic palette. So I know that she since came out with a mini Tropic, which is like basically just those 5 colorful shadows, and I kind of wish that if I had known that was going to exist, just buying that, because those are some beautiful shadows. Like Mid Frost is such a beautiful blue shimmer shade, and it's different from the Aeris blue. But you know, I really like those beautiful colorful shades. I think Laguna is a really, you know, great matte shade. It's a really good blue. There's a lot of good shades in here. It's the other shadows that don't do it for me. Limoncello is one I have a lot of pan on, and Gusty is really pretty as well. See, like Limoncello is this duochrome shadow, and I'm going to run out of space to swatch pretty quickly, but it's kind of sheer. Swatching it's kind of difficult to see. I swatched it right up on the top here, but it's this yellow with like silver reflect, and it's really beautiful. And that's the one shadow that I really hit pan on. I used a little bit of some of these other shades for Franken shadows, and the other shadows are pretty and they perform really well. Like the matte shades are fantastic. They work really well as blushes as well. I just don't reach for it that much. I liked the combination of the shadows before, and now I don't know, I don't really pair them together. Like I wouldn't use shadows in this bottom row with a lot of the shadows that are in the other two, and so then I don't think about it. But because I've been rearranging it, it's been making it easier to use it and to kind of create my own palettes, which sort of helps with any kind of FOMO because I have a lot of really good shadows in here. The next palette is the Metropolis palette. So this is a fairly large palette because this is a lot of mini shadows, like smaller sized pans. So it's similar, the pan size are the same as the ones in the mini palettes. And I just haven't used this one as much, but it's more inspiring to me than the Lila palette and the Tropic palette. This is one that I got in the fall last year, and one that reminds me of my wonderful trip that I took to Cleveland and hanging out with Hunter and, you know, going shopping and all that fun stuff. So there's good memories attached to the palette as well, and it's just such a fall palette that I feel like I will use it more in the upcoming months than I have in the previous couple of months, because this is just, you know, it's green and it's orange and there's browns, and I want to embrace those tones in the fall. I used a lot of the green shades for my eye look today, and a couple from another Natasha palette as well, but I really just wanted to, like, I was feeling golds. No, I was feeling greens. I was really feeling those green shades. So there's a lot of beautiful things in here as well. I think my most used shadow in that is another duochrome shade, the green that's on my lid, that duochrome shade, and the green shade. But there's a lot of beautiful shadows in this palette. I'm trying to swatch a couple of them just to give you an idea. My hands are a little filthy right now because I'm doing so much swatching, and I should have considered that before, but it's just a couple of quick swatches from the palette. They're all very pigmented. They all perform very well. It's just the color story that hasn't done it for me, which is why this palette's just kind of like in the middle right now. I'm not sure if it's going to go up or if it's going to go down. I'm going to have to kind of track it. The next palette is the Mini Retro palette, which was a birthday gift. I really lusted hard over this one as well. It's this silvery shade right here. That's just the most beautiful shadow I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's so simple, like that sort of silver with the reflex in it and that pink. I was obsessed with this palette when I first saw it. I duped it. I was fine not getting it, but then I was even happier when I got it as a birthday present from my boyfriend. So I haven't used it as much as I thought I was going to use it, but I did use it for a while. This is the thing that really helped me when I was feeling down and like when I didn't really want to put a lot of makeup on, even just to do like a simple, like, gotta go to the grocery store. So I put black eyeliner on and use that sort of silver shade and just like the roughest possible smoky eye. But I love these little mini palettes. I feel like they're so worth the price because they're fairly inexpensive. I mean, I know it's only 5 eyeshadows and I think it's like 30 something dollars Canadian, but they're gonna last a long time. That's the thing that I've noticed with Natasha shadows is you have to work hard to even hit pan on them. So I'm not concerned about like running out of shadow anytime soon. And these are great because it's just a small assortment of like really highly curated shades. One of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes, not just from Natasha Denona, just all-time favorite, is the Sunset palette. This palette, it makes me happy just looking at it, just looking at this palette, this color story, just looking at these beautiful shades. And it truly does remind me of a sunset. I think that the color story is perfect. I might change like 1 or 2 things initially when I had this palette. Like, I wish that instead of like swapping out one of like the brown shades for a deeper color, like even a black would honestly be pretty great. Just, I feel like this dark brown isn't quite deep enough when I want to really deepen the outer corner or to like use as liner or something, because that's one thing I found out with using the Biba palette, that black in there makes a perfect eyeliner, and I just wish that was like in this palette. That's the one thing that I would change. But I love gold eyeshadows. I love warm shades. I love oranges because I have blue eyes and I feel like it's the most flattering for bringing out my eye color, and I just enjoy the way that it looks. And I think that this is just such a great assortment of shadows. I feel like there's a good mix and balance between sort of the metallics, the shimmers, the mattes. There's not too much of one or the other where I'm like, you know, I wish there was a little bit more of something else. Like, it's a good balance. These shadows perform beautifully. This Mandarin shade is one of my all-time favorites, and it's really easy to do basic looks with it, but also looks that look a little bit more complicated. Like, one of my favorite looks to do is the Mandarin shade kind of all over the lid with a little bit of the yellow shadow blended out in like the inner portion of the crease, and then like an orange shadow in the outer portion of the crease, and then maybe highlight with a little bit of the gold. And it's just the simplest sunset kind of look, and it's beautiful. And yeah, I'm surprised like the outer packaging has stayed so clean with these palettes, but I'm like a train wreck when it comes to using eyeshadow. I'm just so messy. I have 2 palettes left. Coming in at number 2 is the gold palette. So this looks a little weird to me since I put the shadows back in here, and this is, again, filthy. But I tried cleaning it, and I make it worse. I can never clean my palettes no matter how hard I try. I always make it 100 times worse, which is clearly what happened here. So anyway, this looks a little weird to me now that I've put shadows back in here. I was doing my best to match things up, but I was like, something doesn't look quite right. The more I look at it now, the more I would change things, simply because I had rearranged with all of the other palettes to create my perfect gold palette, which was a lot, like I had like the green shadow in here from Tropic, and I had a couple more of like the duochrome shades and like a yellow shade, and like limoncello from Tropic as well, and just, you know, I had that really good mix of like yellow, gold, and then like the blues and the greens, which are some of my absolute favorite shadows to use. I've always been a gold eyeshadow person. That back in the day, that was what I wore. Gold eyeshadow, black eyeliner, pink lipstick. That was it back in high school, most of university. So I just have such a soft spot for gold eyeshadow, and I think that's why I really love this palette. The lime chrome duochrome shade is such a special shadow. I'm gonna have to like layer over it, limoncello, I'm sorry. But it's one of the most unique shadows I have ever seen, just ever. And like I said, I'm running out of spaces. I need more real estate for swatching. But the golds in this palette perform beautifully. They look beautiful. They last forever. It's just such a fun palette to use, and I love the little bits of blue in there as well, because you can do a full blue eye, but you can also do like the accents of blue and the accents of gold in the blue, and I just love the combination of it so much. So anyway, this is one of my prized possessions and my favorite of the full-size Natasha palettes. And coming in at number 1 is the tiny palette, the mini gold palette. So this is truly, if I was to lose all of my makeup for some reason, let's just say I lost every single piece of makeup I owned, the very first eyeshadow palette I would buy is this one. I was really thinking about this, and I was like, yep, I would freak out, have a complete meltdown, and then I'd buy the mini gold and like a quad of neutrals from MAC. Like that would be how I would begin again, because I think this is the perfect palette. Like there's not a thing I would change about this, not a single thing. Like in all the other palettes, I'm like, well, I could, you know, make this shade a little darker, or make this shade a little lighter, or add a few more darker shades, add a highlight shade. There's always something. This is perfect. It's 5 shadows, it's perfect. There's that light mustard color, the shimmery brown, the gold, the green olive matte, and then like the olivey shimmer shade, and there's not a single thing that I would change about this palette. Not a single thing. It's got a good mix, so it's not like there's 4 shimmers and 1 matte shade. There's not, you know, 4 matte shades, not enough going on, like doing a thing. But this is, if you can kind of see what it looks like I said, since I'm just like completely covered now in Natasha swatches, living my best life. But yeah, this is the perfect eyeshadow palette. It is everything I would want it to be and more. Have been so impressed with how curated the little 5 pan minis have been, and just like how perfect these are. I really wish that she would just come up with a whole bunch more of these, because I really think this is the future, because you get the gold palette just in a really concise, compact form, and with enough product that's going to last you forever. Like I've used this a lot. I've used the gold shade and the green shade a lot, and I had good dips in them, but I'm nowhere near like finishing or even hitting pan on them. So those are all of my Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes, ranked from least favorite to favorite. Let me know what you think. Do you have any of these palettes? Do you have a lot of these palettes? How would you rank them? Do you like things that I don't? Do you dislike things that I like? I'd be really interested in hearing anybody's opinion who maybe is a little against the gold palette. I would really like to know why, I like the mini gold. And if you really like palettes like, you know, Lila, let me know that as well. I'd love to know how you use it. Definitely. Please give me ideas. I so desperately need them. And I've had a lot of people want things like 3-4 looks, 1 palette. And I've had palette requests with a bunch of my Natasha ones, so I'd really like to use it, because the formula is my absolute favorite, and it's something that, you know, I genuinely enjoy using. I love these eyeshadows. I don't have a single complaint about how they perform or how they last or anything. So anyway, let me know if you have any video requests, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now.